Hello friends, welcome to ADO.NET tutorial. In this video, we will execute one more stored procedure with output param as well as return value. So this video is about execute procedure with out param and return value. In the last video, we looked at executing a simple stored procedure. SQL Server stored procedure can accept parameters. So in the last video, we doesn't talk about parameter, and in this video, we will talk about SQL Server stored procedure having parameters as well as a return value. The parameter can be input, output, or input-output. So that means here the caller will send some value to the stored procedure. Here stored procedure will pack some value and send out to the the calling procedure or calling code. Input-output means the direction can be in both. That means the caller can send input and the procedure will execute and pack some output on the same variable. A procedure can also return value to the caller using the return statement. So it can send value to the caller using output or input-output parameter as well as using the return statement in the body. To pass parameters, we should use SqlParameter instance and add it to the parameter collection of the command object. So we already talked about parameters collection in add query. That means parameterized query. In the second video of this subseries, we already talked about this parameter collection. We can use this same parameter collection and pack the SqlParameter to the command object. Below, SqlParameter properties control the parameter type, value, and flow direction. Here we are talking about flow direction, right? Input, incoming, output, outgoing, input, output, both input as well as output. Return is also a outgoing one. So SqlParameter properties, if you see parameter name, that tells what is the name of the parameter. Value, once you specify the parameter name, you can send value to the parameter. Here we need to specify the data type of the parameter also using the SqlDbType property. Then the direction property tells the flow direction. It can be input, output, input-output, or even a return value. After executing the command, we can read the output and return value from the parameter collection itself. So in the parameter collection, we will pack input, output, as well as input-output parameters, right? Even return value also we will pack here. So after executing the stored procedure, we know that there are some parameter type that will return value or send back some value to the caller. So after executing the command, we can read the output and return value from the parameter collection itself. So here you are seeing a sample stored procedure to explore how the output as well as return value is working. We create a procedure and we call the procedure name as addsub. Here if you see there are two parameters, number 1, number 2. Data type is integer and these are all input parameter type. If it doesn't specify input, by default SQL Server stored procedure takes it as an input parameter. Then we have one more parameter called add result. Data type is int. Here we are telling this as a output parameter. That means SQL Server will pack a value on this specific parameter. Then we are beginning the stored procedure body. Here we are declaring a local variable subtract result. This is add result and this one is subtract result. And as usual, we are simply making an assignment set add result. There are two incoming parameters, right? Number 1 plus number 2. So output parameter is ready here. Then set sub result equal to number 1 minus number 2. So this is the subtracted result, and we will return that to the caller using the return statement. So stored procedure is ready. Now we will execute this using ADO.NET. During that time you will learn how we are using the SqlParameter, parameter collection, and these parameter properties. So once you create the command object using the command type, you can tell that it's a stored procedure. Then we will specify the stored procedure name. Our stored procedure name is add sub. After that, there are two input parameters, right? So from command object, we make a call to parameters collection. Then using the add with value function, we pack the parameter with values. So number 1, that's the first parameter, input parameter, and we pack that with a value 6. For the second parameter, number 2, we pack a value of 4. After that, we are dealing with the output parameter. So we create a SqlParameter instance. Here, if you see, we doesn't create any instance. Parameters dot add with value. We are sending parameter name and value. This add with value will create the SqlParameter type and add that to the collection. Here we are explicitly creating a SqlParameter and we call that as outParam. Then if you see parameter name @add result. So here we are mentioning the output parameter for the stored procedure. Then we specify data type as integer, and direction we are specifying it as output parameter. Right, we already have 2 in the parameter collection, 2 input parameter. Now we make use of command.parameters. This time we use add and we pack our output param here. Next, add return value. So in ADO.NET, return value is also considered as a parameter collection. So here we create a SqlParameter, right? Then we specify parameter name as subtracted result or sub result, and the direction we specify it as return value. Then command.parameters, the same way we are adding the return value to the collection. So if you look at here, at this moment we packed the parameters, 2 input parameters, 1 output parameter, and 1 return value. Finally, we are opening the connection and using the execute non-query, we are executing the stored procedure. So when we execute this stored procedure, it will make a call to this add sub stored procedure, which we already created and kept in the SQL server. So the parameter value is also ready. There are 2 in parameter with 6 and 4. So with 6 and 4, the stored procedure will get executed. It will pack the added result in the output parameter. So output parameter here sub result will hold the value of 10. Then here in the here is the output parameter, right? This will hold the value of 10. Here we will be holding the value of 2. 6 minus 4, 2 in the return value. So we executed the stored procedure to read these outgoing values, outgoing in the sense from stored procedure. We once again use our parameter collection. If you see command parameters of, we refer our parameter name add result, right? Because we already packed it. Now we are reading back value dot to string. So this will read the content from that output parameter, and we are storing that in a string value. In the same way, we are reading command dot parameter collection of sub result. This is the return value, value dot to string, and here we are holding the subtracted result. Finally, we are printing this result in the multi-line text box. Now let's go to the demo. So now we are in SQL Server Management Studio, and here is the PEPS database. We already created a stored procedure. So that stored procedure name was show books, but it doesn't accept any parameters. Returns integer, but it doesn't accept any input and output parameter. Now we are creating a stored procedure called add sub, and we will execute it, and we are executing it on the PEPS database. So the stored procedure is ready. We will refresh it, and you can see add sub stored procedure that has 2 input parameter. Even though it doesn't specify input here, SQL Server will take it as an input parameter. That's the default direction. Then for add result, we have output parameter, but here it is taking it as input output, and we have a return value also, which is integer. Now we will go to the design view. We will add a button. So we are naming it as a procedure with output. Procedure with output and return. So as already told, here we create the connection. This time we are using the PEPS connection from our connection store. We have connection for PEPS as well as Northwind. We are using the PEPS connection because the stored procedure is in the PEPS database. Next, we are creating the SqlCommand object from this connection, and command type we specify it as a stored procedure, and the stored procedure name is add sub. Right, that's the stored procedure name. Next, we supply 2 numbers, 2 input parameters we can say, to the parameter collection. So this is a SqlParameter collection, and using the add with value, you can see what this add with value is returning. It will return a SqlParameter. So we pack our first two parameter, number 1, number 2, right? That's the parameter, input parameter, and we supply the value as 6 and 4. So 2 input parameter is ready now. Next, here we are adding the output parameter. So we create a SqlParameter. We know that add with value will return a SqlParameter, but here this time we are creating the SqlParameter explicitly, and we specify the parameter name as add result. And you can see add result. The direction is output. Data type is integer. So we specify SqlDataType as integer and direction as parameter direction as output. So to the SqlParameter direction, we specify output. Finally, we are adding the parameter to the SqlCommand's parameter collection. The same way, we have to add the return value also. So here, once again, we create a SqlParameter. We specify the return value. Sub result, it's the return value, right? So we specify that, and direction here we are specifying it as a return value. Previously it's the output parameter, and this one is return value, and we are adding this SqlParameter to the collection, to the SqlCommand SqlParameter collection. Now we will execute and show the result. Here we are opening the connection, then executing the query. So executing the query in the sense, by this time all the required input parameters are ready. Stored procedure name also we already specified. There is one output parameter and one return value. So the execute non-query will do the duty. After executing the query from our parameter collection, we refer the SqlParameter name, then we read the content. So dot value, and since it's a object, we make use of toString to cast the object into the string format. That's all. We have added result and subtracted result. Added result was given to us in the form of output parameter, and subtracted result is given to us as a return value. We make use of these two results and form our multi-line text box output. Alright, now we will rebuild the solution. Rebuild all is succeeded. Now we will execute. So if you see, added result is 10 and subtracted result is 2. So here you can simply put a two text box to specify the two input values, but instead here let me change the parameters as 20 and 5, and we will execute it again. And this time if you see, added result is 25 and subtracted result is 15. Alright, that's all here in this video. Thank you for watching, and we are ending this sub-series. Bye.